Welcome to this BEC podcast. My name is Rasmus Beck, and now I have exotic guests here on our show because we stopped only inviting European people, we also invited people from Pan Am. Kristen and Rachel from Canada, welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for joining. It's not that often that we have non-Europeans coming to the show, so it's a kind of special for me too. We have been seeing you on the European circuit a lot. We've been seeing you on the World Tour a lot. Kristen, how is it to be that traveling pair of yours at the moment?
No, it's exciting. For us, I think this is both our first time really going for the Olympics. So we're going to a lot of places, going to a lot of tournaments, and to be able to see all of the players from different countries and compete against them, I think it's really exciting.
Rachel, do you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I think we both traveled in the past, but it's the first time we're chasing the Olympics and a big goal together. So like you said, we've been Asia, Europe, Pan Am, anywhere and everywhere, chasing this goal of ours. And it's cool to see our progression and cool to experience playing different pairs from all over the world. So it's been good so far.
Kristen, do you see that your level is increasing during this year, or is it basically just to keep it going, to get enough points, get enough tournaments to make it to Tokyo?
I think we're definitely trying to get better and better. I think last year, Belgium, around this time last year, was our first European tournament as a pair. And I think from then until now, I think we've already seen some good progression and improvements. And of course, we're trying to continue that, and we want to be as good as we can leading up to the Olympics.
Rachel, of course, you've been playing a lot in Pan Am, but then going on the European tour, what was the biggest differences?
Yeah, they're just a lot more strong pairs. I think right from like first round in any European challenge, you're challenged, and it's one of those things I think anyone can win on a given day. I mean, there's those few pairs like the Stoivas, there's those top teams who've really separated themselves, but I think around our level, maybe ranking like 20 to 40, it's all flipping and flopping as you look at the rankings. It's changing every week. So just like, how can you become that pair that can consistently win from back-to-back weeks? Because to win a challenge, you need to string upon 4 or 5 good matches. I think the level is very solid. And there's a big group of strong pairs, whereas I think in the Pan Am zone, we're still missing that. There's maybe a couple of us. But yeah, in Europe, it's a lot more solid.
When I watched you guys in Belgium, Kristen, I saw a pair performing very good. I would not say until the final, because I actually don't think you played bad. But the level was just different, I would say. But why is it so hard to take that next step? Of course, you played the Stoiber sisters. They're not nobodies here, but why is it so difficult?
Well, if I knew the correct answer, then we would be there. But I don't know exactly. But I think for us, at least, perhaps the training we have at home is not quite the same as the other teams have elsewhere. That's why we're trying our best to learn from other countries and see what they do, and then we can adapt it ourselves. But yeah, I think, like you said, the Stoivas are so much ahead of us, and there is a lot to improve on, and there's no one thing that we're missing. It's just a lot of things. So I don't think there's anything specific, just everything needs to be better.
But Rachel, do you feel that you guys get closer?
Yeah, I think every time we play, we get closer. I think a struggle we have is we play these big tournaments or against big teams like the Stoivas, and there's so many things we want to work on and we know we need to work on, but then sometimes we don't get that match until we play the next tournament. So we are, like Kristen said, trying to find places to train, people to train with, so we can make those improvements in between tournaments. Because right now, we play a world-class pair, and we don't get it until the next tournament. And it's hard to make those changes like in the middle of a tournament. So I do feel like we get progress every time, but like Kristen said, I think we'd like it to be a bit faster by getting that experience in between tournaments instead of just when we're there.
A year ago, I sat here with Michelle Lee, your countryman, and she said it was tough for her to travel alone. She was the only Canadian. Now we actually see more Canadians on the top one, Kristen. What has happened?
I think Michelle definitely set a great example. She's leading us. Like, she made it seem like it's possible. It is possible for Canadians to do well in the world. And I think in general, there are more players in Canada now. It's a lot more competitive, and we're just pushing each other up. In terms of the traveling part, I think for me at least, it's lucky that we're playing doubles, so I always have Rachel with me. We're always together. It's not perhaps as lonely as Michelle would be on her own playing singles. But yeah, we are seeing a lot more Canadians. We now have the mixed pair, the men's doubles pair. So it's nice to be able to go to practice and have other people to train with, not just be alone. So it's good.
Yeah, because I saw you guys in the training hall yesterday, and 1 year ago I also saw Michelle practicing basically with a sparring partner. But now you actually practice together.
Yeah.
She had a hard time on practice court yesterday, I could see, because you were actually 2 against 1 most of the time. But what does it mean to you, Rachel, that you can actually help each other out here?
I think it's huge. Like Kristen said, knowing Michelle for a long time now, I think that was a huge struggle for her. I mean, you come to a tournament and you're by yourself, or you're 1 or 2 people, and you compare to Japan or China, and they're 40 with their staff, 50 people. It can be intimidating, lonely. Just looking at it, it feels like, how can I compete against that? They have the ratio of coaches to physios to managers to players is like unparalleled compared to us. So even just for us, even though it's still small, 6 or 7, it still feels like more of a team. Like you said, to have people to train with, people watching your game, supporting, people go eat with. I think it just makes the whole thing more enjoyable. I know just from talking to Michelle, I think it was so lonely. It wasn't as enjoyable as it could be. Because I mean, here we are traveling the world. It should be a lot of fun too. But I think when you're alone, it can take away from that. So we're lucky that the team is getting bigger and bigger. And yeah, I'm lucky to play doubles as well. So at least I have to have Kristen.
Kristen, you also have Chinese Taipei background. When you then look at that team traveling, because they're actually also quite a big team, do you sometimes think, oh, it could actually also be cool just for a day or 2?
Yeah. Yeah, it would definitely be cool to experience that, to have the support personnel around you. But I also think it's unique being like a small team, having to do everything yourself, being more independent. I think that's one thing Canadians do quite well at, is because we grew up having to travel on our own, having no coaches, nothing, managers. So perhaps like on court, we might be a bit more independent too, in some cases. So I think it's good too.
Does it also make you more like, I'm not sure mature is the right word for this, Rachel, but does it?
For sure. I think it's probably helped our progression. I think a lot of what we've had to do is on our own, whether it be booking practice times, booking hotel or Airbnb and flights, as well as on court at the interval, like talking with each other. I think it forces us to be more independent, and I think that actually helps our progression, because when we have those conversations, we're fully involved in our success or what we take to improve, and we don't rely on anyone else. So for sure at times we do wish there was someone there, because like Kristen said, we don't always have the answers, whether it comes to on-court, like what to improve, how to improve, but I think it definitely has helped our on-court maturity, as well as just maturity as a person. And when it comes to the travel, all that stuff, doing that on our own, scheduling, tournament picking, because especially this year, a big part of it is not even just on court, it's off court, the planning and all that stuff as well. So it definitely takes more time, but I think it will help us.
I feel there's a good chemistry between you guys, but sometimes, no matter who it is, it's also nice to have a break from each other. Kristen, when you guys travel so much and it's only the 2 of you, do you feel like you need a break from Rachel and vice versa here? So just once in a while.
It's okay, you can be honest. Go ahead.
No, I think for me, it's not necessarily a break from Rachel, but just a break from badminton, like tournaments, traveling. Like sometimes it's nice to just go home, spend time with my dog and my family. But yeah, no, I think, we do get along very well. I think we understand each other well enough to know when each other, like, we need some space or whatever. So I think in terms of that, I won't necessarily say I need a break from Rachel.
We're not letting him hang to dry here, so Rachel, you're gonna answer this question.
I'm gonna answer it nicely, because that was pretty nice. I think, like Kristen said, I think before we had a break from tournaments, maybe a year or 2 ago when we weren't traveling as much, we'd make a huge effort to go to each other's cities to train together. Whereas I think now we both enjoy our little time we have at home. So Kristen will go back to Vancouver, I'll go to Toronto. like she said, I don't think it's necessarily that we're driving each other crazy, even though we do sometimes. I think it's more like we just would like to be in our homes. But for sure, it's like it's been a learning process. I think we have had times where we want to, I don't know, kill each other, because it's hard with that on-court frustration at times, and you're always together. But like Kristen said, we know each other very well now that we enjoy each other's company most of the time. We also know when there's times where, okay, I'll do my thing and she'll do her thing. And I think it's helped that we've met more people on the circuit as well, so we can hang out with other countries, other people as well.
Traveling the world. Now we sit in Denmark. You're going to France soon. I know that that's not your last tournament this year. It's costly. That's fair to say. There's a flight every time. There's a hotel every time. There's food every time. There's entry fees all the time. You know it.
Yeah.
How do you guys fund this?
Good question. You can take that.
This year, we're fortunate to get some money from the Canadian government, which has been definitely helpful. I think this is probably one of the most we've both gotten, like leading up to the Olympics. So it's about an allowance per month. But I would say in a normal year, it would probably be around enough to cover expenses or close to, whereas this year, definitely not, just given how much we are traveling, like you said, how more costly. So for me, whether it be through league matches, coaching back home, when on the side, or money I've saved up, as well as some support from my parents that I'm really lucky to have. I think that's, like a main struggle for Canadians is you have to find money from somewhere, and where will that be? So I'm lucky that I've been able to travel to tournaments I have been, like considering all these things put together. But it definitely is a stress on the back of all of our minds. I think that's why often we're not staying in the tournament hotels, maybe flying not the best direct flights. But yeah, I've been definitely fortunate to be able to play as many tournaments as I have.
Kristen, do you do anything else but what Rachel just said to gain some funding?
No, so other than the government league this year, I'm just as lucky to have family support as well. But yeah, I think, again, like she said, it's a big problem for Canadians. And I think that's why a lot of Canadians, once we're done high school, they stop playing. Because it's just financially, it doesn't make sense to play badminton. You're always losing. You're never winning. You're never gaining anything. Unless you're at Michelle's level, then perhaps you're actually making money. But, at least for everybody else, it's a struggle. So again, we're very lucky to have the support that we have from our family. But yeah.
Looking at the ranking, it looks not bad, I would say. It looks actually quite decent for you to make it to Tokyo. If you guys make it to Tokyo. Injuries can happen. Knock on wood, not gonna happen. If you guys make it to Tokyo, was it worth it? If we think about the funding part, was it worth it asking or getting the support from family, friends, or whoever is supporting economically? Was it worth it, Rachel?
100%. I love to play. Whether even though this year is more stressful, I'm still loving what I'm doing. 100% worth it. I think there's moments every once in a while, or maybe more than that, on the tour, whether it be winning one round in China Open, winning Pan Am Games, where you get this feeling like, oh, everything is worth it, whether it be the sacrifice of the training, never being home financially. For me, there's no doubt that it's worth it, yeah.
Kristen, one thing I always think about when I look to Pan Am is that you have, if you look at women's singles, two very strong players. Men's singles players, we don't see any in the World Tour. We see you guys basically as the only ones. In the women's doubles, then we have a mixed doubles, and then the men's doubles, maybe two if lucky. You are the biggest badminton stars in North America. Does it make you proud to be that ambassador for not only for Canada, but actually for a full continent?
Yeah, for sure. You said badminton is not super big in North America. And I know it is easier to be the top ones in the Pan American region compared to Europe or Asia. But it is still, we've made a lot of sacrifices and we put in a lot to be where we are, and to be that ambassador. It means a lot for us. And I think, it's like we can use that to promote badminton, and hopefully our goal is to make badminton grow in the Pan American region, to perhaps a level that we see in Europe or Asia one day. Yeah.
Rachel, anything to add here?
Yeah, I think, like Kristen said, it's good that not just being the best in the Pan Am, but showing that the best in the Pan Am can actually beat maybe the best in Europe. That's what we want to like set our goal to, like Michelle, showing that being best in Pan Am is one step, like being competitive in the world is another. Sometimes when you're the best in Canada in hockey, you're also the best in Canada. I mean, best in hockey in the world. Whereas in badminton, it's one jump and then another jump and then another jump.
Quite a big jump.
Quite a big jump. Yeah, sorry. So I think for us, I'm proud of us that we haven't settled with just being one best in Canada or one best in the Pan Am, that we want to be like best in the world, like top 20, top 25, whether it be to show that we can compete with the top in Europe, and then hopefully eventually the same in Asia.
I love watching American sport,
Okay.
Northern American sport. I watch the NFL, I watch the NHL. When I see these kind of sports just expanding every single day, basically, also in Europe, also in Asia, what is it that badminton need to focus on to become, I'm not saying like tennis big, because I don't think that's happening anytime soon, but be bigger, so there actually are some money, some funding, some sponsors who find you guys more relevant? Kristen, just what are your thoughts? What does badminton need to do to become big in US and Canada?
It's a very good question, and I do not have an answer to that, but definitely I feel like if we had better results, that would definitely help. Like if we have Canadian can perform better on the world stage, that will be a big thing. If we have people in like consistently in the top 10, like I know that's far away, but like if that can be a thing, I think that will help. But otherwise, I don't know.
Do you think, Rachel, that if you guys performed like, for instance, Bouchard did in tennis, do you think that you will have, not saying the same attention and awareness, but something that could actually boost you guys if you could do the same?
Yeah, we could on a consistent basis. I think it slowly would change. It's a good question. Like I asked my parents, they love to watch tennis, and they'll sit down and watch a 5-hour Wimbledon final. But they don't go on YouTube to watch badminton unless it's maybe me playing. And
that's a mistake. Huh?
Yeah, that's what I tell them. So I asked them like, what's the difference? And I think because my mom actually loves badminton when they're watching, they do really enjoy it. I guess one is just the accessibility of watching sometimes, and two, I think, like you said, they're just very invested in, say, the tennis players because they know them a lot better, whether it be Nadal, Federer, Djokovic. Whereas I guess the badminton personalities they don't know as well, so they're not as invested. So I think, like you said, that's just the coverage in North America a lot. So things like the podcast, we get to know the personalities. Or if, maybe you'd be more likely for them to watch if it was the North American players that were doing it better, they'd be more invested. But yeah, I think it would take it consistently. I think, Michelle's name will be in the paper here and there. I think it would take a bigger group of us to really turn the tide.
But how is it, Kristen, to fight, like you're fighting franchises like Canucks or Maple Leafs or whatever it's going to be? How is it to know that that's the teams or the franchises you're fighting against to actually get that kind of attention?
It's not very encouraging to know that that's what we're fighting against.
It's tough, right? And that's exactly my point. Is that at some point you guys also need to settle and be satisfied with, okay, Bouchard might not gonna happen, but less can also do. Is that also some of the thoughts that you have, that okay, maybe we don't need to make it to the biggest television station, but the second biggest could also do?
Yeah, I think in badminton a lot you're doing it for your self-satisfaction. I think if we were basing it based on how much attention we got, media coverage, how much sponsorships we get, and we're always comparing to those big names, the Maple Leafs, the Raptors, we'd always be disappointed. So I think badminton is interesting in that way. Like Kristen said, we could finish our career maybe spending more this year than we've made, but was it worth it? And a lot of it is dependent on like yourself, like self-satisfaction. If you have those moments, that it's worth it. So like you said, I think in some ways we're not chasing to be compared to the Canucks or Leafs. I mean, we want to help the sport grow in Canada. We have to be realistic. So I can't say we don't definitely don't do it for the attention. If you're in badminton in Canada, you're probably in the wrong sport. You're doing it more for yourself. Yeah.
I do not expect you to retire anytime soon, so we can also talk about the time after Tokyo. Do you think that if you guys make it to Tokyo, best case scenario is actually making it out of the group stage? A good draw and a good result. It's not impossible. Would that help you a lot moving forward, Kristen, you think?
I will most likely be retiring after.
You will?
Yes.
And what's the reason? Okay, let's take that one first. What's the reason behind that?
Well, first of all, financially, as we've said before, we're putting in a lot more than we are getting out. So it's not the most financially sound choice to keep playing badminton. And for me, I'm 24, turning 25 next year. So I'll be 25 by the time Olympics is over. For me, I have a lot of injuries too. So like for me to play another 4 years, I'd say, to go for 2024, I think is quite taxing my body. I don't know if it could hold up for another 4 years. So for me, I would prefer to just go back to school and look for a job and, continue on to the next stage of my life.
And then all eyes on you, Rachel.
Yeah.
What's happening then?
Well, I try to, nag her a little bit, trying to change her mind. I haven't given up, so hopefully her answer will change. So I finished 3 out of 4 years of my undergrad. So I will go back to school, but I do want to keep playing. I still love to play. But it'll be interesting for me if Kristen does retire, because if we do qualify or not, I'll be in a tricky situation, whether it be trying to go back to singles like I was playing before, look for another doubles partner, or what, because I definitely don't want to stop playing. But I think it's tricky just because in Canada there's not, a lot of people who are playing at a high and wanting to travel. So there's not a lot of other women's double partner options or even mixed doubles. So it'll be at an interesting choice for me, to what extent I want to keep playing, what event I want to keep playing, and where my opportunities are. But yeah, I haven't given up on convincing Kristen to keep going.
Is it terrifying to think about it might be over soon?
For me, yes.
Yeah?
For her, not so
Kristen,
much.
not at all?
We joke about it. We joke that I'm the one who likes badminton. She's the one who's really, I think, not struggling through the year, but it's more stressful. But I think a lot of it is, Kristen was an incredible player when she was younger, and she still is, but then ruptured her Achilles and spent 3 years out. But I think for you, just injuries have always made it more stressful than enjoyable for her.
So if I could hand you $500,000, would you continue to play after the Olympics?
Oh.
Then there's no discussion or what?
And it would push it a lot towards the other side, which...
Yeah. So if the economical part, if that could be solved or be more balanced, would you continue to consider to continue that?
A lot more likely. It would also depend on how we're doing by the time Olympics happens. But yeah, if economic is not a problem, that would change things. Yeah.
But at the age of 25, to leave it all, it's also a tough call.
It is. Yeah, like Rachel said, we joke often that she loves badminton. For me, I sometimes struggle to find the motivation. And I don't know why that is, but I do struggle. So for me, sometimes I think about, life after badminton. I'm excited for it. But then again, there are times when we're doing well and training's going well. And I really, there's the times where we win. I'm like, I'm going to miss this. But yeah, everything in life, it's tough.
Are you guys then enjoying this year more, actually, than feeling pressure? Because this might be the end of it.
I'm definitely probably enjoying this year more than any other year. I don't know if it's because that it might be our last year as a pair, more so that I think I'm feeling better and more confident as a pair ourselves. I remember we actually think Denmark Open last year. Was that our first 750 or first high level? And we came in and we were freaked out. We were probably, there's 32 teams here. We're probably 31 or 32, feeling a bit out of place.
The ones that everybody wanted to draw.
Yeah, everyone wanted to draw.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, no, it's fair. And kind of feeling, I guess, in the Olympic way, sometimes you sign up for these big tournaments, maybe your level isn't there, but you need the points. So we felt a bit out of place and intimidated. So that was not fun. And on court, we were just hoping we wouldn't get killed, to be honest. But now it's a lot more enjoyable in the sense that I think we feel a bit more like we belong. We've beaten some teams who are also here. We've taken the top 10 teams to 3 sets or close. So for me, it's most enjoyable in that sense that I can step on the practice court and be like, okay, like I belong here. I'm not like hiding or so like shy or like feel out of place as much anymore. So I think that's what I'm most proud of, and that's why I'm enjoying it more. Yeah.
Kristen, let's say this is the last time we sit here then.
All right.
It could be then.
Yeah.
I understand it could be. What's been the highlight? The big one highlight?
Big one highlight. Oof.
Of course, making it to Tokyo would be one big highlight,
Yes.
but before that. You need time to think about it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
ask
ask Rachel a question because just to underline it, I don't have the feeling that you're going to retire
Right.
because it seems like you love this sport way too much.
Yes.
So what is plan B right now actually? And you can think about the question.
I will.
Plan B right now would probably be to go back to singles. I played singles till about, I think, almost a year ago now. Like, remember last November, like Scotland. It's probably the last tournament I played in. I played in Worlds though, in Pan Am Games this past summer, and I still train occasionally and play singles in the league. I put singles on hold, I guess you could say, this year, chasing after the Olympics, and Michelle being quite, taking that spot for Tokyo, and she's doing so well, which is great. But I think when I stopped it, I thought there'd be a chance I would definitely come back. But I know going back to singles, like going back to any event is not easy. But that would be what I would say for now. What would be the plan? Yeah.
So, Kristen,
Okay.
that big highlight.
There's like many highlights, but I would say I personally think Suderman Cup this year was very big. I think being a team event, that made a big difference. Like when we won the final match, it was like you never get, like, only in team events you get like people, your teammates running on to the court and celebrating. It's like it's a different feeling from when you win on your own. And I think overall from day one to the last day, like overall Team Canada did really well, and I think it just shows the world that Canada is stepping up. And I really, really enjoyed that moment. Yeah.
Ladies, thank you very much for coming. Rachel, you have a job to do. It's too soon to retire.
Day by day. I try.
Let's put a bit of pressure on this one because I think Canada needs you both at least 4 more years. So, ladies, thank you very much for coming. It was a pleasure, and you still have an invitation for in next year when you still play, Kristen.
All right.
Thank you guys for watching this show, and please go follow these girls on social media and support their way to Tokyo. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you.